Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by a fellow Neal with an I, though, Neal Stevens. It's very good to have you here.
Good to have you, Neal. Good to talk to you.
Yes. And so Face Your Fears is going to be playing at Shriekfest. Very excited.
It is. Yes. I'm very excited.
It's more of a statement than a question.
You paused for a second.
Right.
I was thinking, I'm like, yes, I'm pretty sure. Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So for people not aware yet, can you give them an idea of what Face Your Fears is? Which sometimes is hard with a short because you don't want to give away the whole movie.
Right. How much can you talk about? Basically, it's about a young woman who's terrified of the dark, takes a pet sitting job where she discovers a supernatural game called Face Your Fears that promises to cure her fears if she faces them first. And is this audio or video? Because in the background you can see the game,
both.
But okay, all right. So that's the game in the background.
Oh, it is. It's the actual, almost like the Jack in the Box. The idea, yeah.
Jack in the Box there, yeah.
So did you have that? Is that something you found, or did you make it for the movie?
I had to make a whole new game that did not exist. We were talking a little bit about board games before.
Yeah.
We started chatting. I'm a big fan, and I basically I had to just come up with a new concept. So I basically created a new game from scratch.
Before we go back to the movie, what kind of? Because I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons and board games, all kinds of games. So what were some of your favorite games?
So I never got. I mean, I was young. I think Dungeons and Dragons are probably too complicated for me when I was young. But I love.
My brother is 9 years older, and so I played with him and his friends. So otherwise,
okay, yeah. I played Dungeons and Dragons Lite, basically, which was called Heroes Quest.
I love Heroes Quest. Yeah,
Heroes Quest. Yeah, that was like Dungeons and Dragons for beginners. I was obsessed with that game when I was younger. So we play that all the time. I never quite graduated to Dungeons and Dragons, but I played that for a number of years. So I would say that was probably my favorite. I love Stratego. I'm a big Stratego fan. Yeah. I play chess a lot. I still kind of play it. That's probably one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, they actually just re-released Heroes Quest, I think earlier this year, because I know they like a Kickstarter to re-release the game, which is very cool.
Because it seemed like it was so hard to get a game because it was so old, and you'd have to spend like $100 to get the original set, and I was like, I want to get I get it, but it's so expensive. So that makes me very happy to hear that they're re-releasing it.
Yeah, and then there was a couple, two or three expansions, and I have one of them, but I remember like they were really hard to even find at the time.
Yeah,
one like a Yeti and something else. But we're not here to talk about Hero Quest. But Hero Quest is a good game for people out there.
Great game. Yeah.
So I liked and I noticed because I watch a few of your shorts, and you have this in a few of them where you've got like music that would be like pleasant and innocent, and then it's contrasted with horror, which I always like that. I think it works well.
Yeah, kind of that counter punctual thing. Where like I see like Tarantino kind of does that a lot, where he'll throw in like a happy, fun song during a horrible scene, and it kind of the irony of it has some interesting effect on the viewer, I find. Yeah,
you can never hear Stuck in the Middle with You without thinking of an ear getting cut off after.
Yes, exactly. And would you have ever thought that before? No. You would never associate that song with something so horrible. So I think that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. So along those lines, who would be like your influences? Would Tarantino be one of them?
I love. He's one of my favorite directors. I don't know if he's an influence so much. I would probably start with Carpenter. We were already talking about Carpenter a little bit beforehand, but I love his type of horror. He makes really good horror movies that are scary and fun. Like there's always a fun factor with his movies as well, and it's not he never loses sight that it's supposed to be an entertaining journey. And even in his non-horror, like we were talking, like Big Trouble in Little China, like it's such a fun movie or ride. It's just you're just having a blast the whole time while you're watching it.
And a similar idea for that's like a kind of a reason why I also like festivals in a way, because that movie doesn't fit into any genre or fits into many genres. And sometimes, people don't want that. They want to is it horror? Is it thriller? Is it whatever? And at festivals, there's a lot of movies like that where they either fit into several or don't really fit into any.
Yeah. I watched a movie last night that was like that. I don't know if you've seen *Malignant* yet.
Yeah, I did.
So that was a movie I recommend that if people can and safely, whatever, watch it in the theater, because
I would agree 100%.
At some point, I'm not spoiling anything, but at some point, like, it gets really far out there and fun. And I was in an audience and people were just like shouting and screaming and cheering and laughing. And it was so much better having that communal experience than if I was just watching at home being like, what the hell is going on here?
I agree 100%, because I think if you watch it, because I see people talking about the acting or if the story, if you know it before, and I think all of that doesn't really matter at all. And if you go to watch it, the whole idea of watching this movie with an audience that thinks they're going to see like a mainstream kind of typical horror movie, and then it's about the first 45 minutes it kind of is, and then it becomes something else. It's a very fun experience, especially probably for people who watch us who are weird horror fans.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love, 80s slashers, giallo movies. So I was like, oh wow, this is really like kind of like got that 80s influence. And it was like it seemed like a really big budget horror at the same time. It was kind of like off genre, which is kind of rare nowadays to see someone able to do that. I guess if anyone can do it, it's James Wan. But I was like, wow, this is a unique experience.
Yeah. I think that's a big chance on his part, because he's like I know he's made these huge movies, so if he doesn't make one that everyone likes, it doesn't necessarily matter. But I think it could possibly hurt his reputation because it's so weird and out there.
Yeah. I guess it could. I don't. It's like in the old days when the directors, they go, "Hey, you make one for the studio, make one for yourself."
Yeah, exactly.
You made Aquaman. And then he's like, you know what? I want to make a movie for myself. He let me make a movie for myself, and he did, and they let him. And we'll see if he can do that again.
Yeah, it's fun because it is a movie that on social media everyone is either like on our camp here or they really hate it. So I would say go in and just and watch it, enjoy it or not, but go in and watch it. It's definitely. I don't think you'll come out like it's whatever. You'll definitely have an opinion one way or the other.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So are you going to be at Shriekfest?
I will be there. Yes. I'll be at the screening and hopefully at some of the parties as well.
Have you watched Face Your Fears with an audience yet?
I got to watch one. I had one screening pre-COVID, like a few weeks before all hell broke loose. We had one screening. And that was a blast. It was just, again, with like horror, you want to watch it in an audience, and because it's like people react to it while it's going on. And so it was wonderful. And then, we've done a lot of virtual festivals now, it's not really the same. So I'm very excited to screen it again for an audience and to, you make a movie because you want to kind of hear people react to it. You want to hear them that's like manna from heaven, hearing people jumping or getting scared as a horror filmmaker. You're like, yeah, like that's what you're trying to do.
Definitely. And what would you say because I always tell people to go to the festivals if you make stuff, if you have no intention of ever making anything, if you just like stuff, whatever. I think every level of film fan or filmmaker should experience of film festivals. What do you think the benefits of going to a film festival as a filmmaker?
Oh, so as a filmmaker, it's always a great scene. I mean, you're surrounded by other filmmakers, other writers, producers, people who make the same stuff that you're making. Especially if you're doing horror and it's a horror festival, you're meeting a lot of like-minded people. You're watching some great movies, some shorts, features, whatever. And I love the horror. like audience. I feel like I'm amongst my people, amongst my tribe when I go to especially these horror festivals or genre festivals or whatever, because we're all like we're all very unique, but we're all a certain type of people. I mean, we're all kind of chasing this thrill, this interesting underbelly of civilization, whatever you want to call it. So it's always, you're just surrounded by a lot of really cool people, and it's a really fun time.
Yeah. I always mention that too. It's like, cause you have like people that would, normal people would think is a typical horror fan. Maybe they got a lot of tattoos and look kind of crazy, but then you have people look pretty normal like yourself. But I think all horror fans are really accepting of everybody because they all share the love of the genre.
Yeah, I find people who, and maybe I'm generalizing a little bit, but I find people who who get into horror films. I find that they're emotionally, like mentally well balanced people, because they're like not afraid to investigate the dark side of things, and they're like, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure there's a few wackos wherever you go, but right. I feel like we're always like, we're just really accepting cool people generally who like to watch this fun stuff. Yeah.
By the way, what's the Brando print or picture or sketch behind you?
That's on the waterfront. So I got on the waterfront, your young Brando. I've got Mulholland Drive over here. Oh, I should pull this out. My niece.
Nice. Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah. She's only like 30. I think she'll be 14.
Wow, that's really cool.
She's an upcoming horror artist, and she said, "I'll draw your favorite monster for Christmas." And I was like, "Can you do the Pale Man?" I had to translate it into Spanish because it's a Spanish movie, but because she's from Mexico, but she did a wonderful job.
Yeah, that's great. I dig it. So you like monsters, then, I assume?
Yeah. I dig monsters. Yeah, I would say so.
So, what was the when you're doing your face your fears? I think you don't want to show too much of the entity, but you have to show a little bit of something. So, what was your idea of what how much you'd show and what would it look like?
Yeah, well, that's a big challenge. Is you got to give the audience something. You got to let them whet their appetites with something. But the second you show too much of something and the audience gets an idea of what it is, they're generally like, oh, all right, it's just that. So you got to give them just enough to spark something in their imagination, because whatever they imagine, of course, is going to be far scarier than seeing your creature in broad daylight. Like, I think of when I was a kid and the horror movies that would scare me the most. Some of them didn't even have a show a monster. I remember The Haunting. I saw that as a little kid, the 1961 Robert Wise movie, and there were no monsters in that. And I just imagined, I saw it when I was probably 5 or 6, way too young, and I just imagined the worst things possible. But it's hard to get away with that nowadays if you just show nothing. So you have to show something. So, I try to put the creature in the dark as much as possible and barely make it visible at certain points. I was even a little wary of I wanted to show that she's afraid of the dark without having her explain it or over the phone or something. So I kind of was like, all right, we're going to show this creature and she just sees it in the dark when the lights are off. And that is her kind of subjective thing that she's projecting to show that she's got this fear of the dark. Yeah. Especially in something like this, or I always think that's a problem with people have at the end of the first the mini series is the big spider, but it's really the idea of it's your worst fear. So whatever the particular people are thinking of is going to be something different. So it's hard to try to show anything that would really encompass that. Exactly. I mean, that's the challenge with a lot of Stephen King movies too, where it's he writes these crazy monsters, and whatever you envision in your head is going to be way scarier in the book than probably what a filmmaker can, because a filmmaker has to actually create these things. And I think it works with stuff like It or say The Thing, where the monster is constantly changing too, right? Like it never looks the same. It's hard when you get the same monster and you're showing, there's only so many times you can show it. At some point, they know what it is. I mean, you could just go Mike Myers, like, hey, all right, this is what he looks like and whatever, and move on. But in movies like The Thing and It, you can, all right, well, you can take different shapes and forms, and that actually helps because each time it's going to look a little bit different.
Yeah, that's what's so cool about The Thing is it's really an alien. It's not just a guy in a cool, even if it's a cool suit, it's a guy in a suit, but the thing, it's such an otherworldly thing, it's so bizarre.
And you don't even know, like you don't even know, like it actually has no form, or like we don't even know what its true form is. Like it's that's the scariest part. It's like we don't even know what it is. We have no idea. It took on all these other shapes, but we never know its true form, which is horrifying.
Yeah, and I always think the Thing is a movie that appealed to me as a kid and as an adult, because as a kid I really liked it just primarily because of the cool monsters. But it's really a perfect movie. The cast, everyone's great in it. It's very well made. So it's really the best of both worlds, where it's cool to look at, but it's also a really well made movie.
Yeah, when you watch it when you get older, you kind of pick up more on the sort of the paranoia of not knowing if the person next, like if the person is who they say they are, and sort of there's just that feeling of paranoia protrudes through the whole movie, and it's rather bleak, which is probably why it didn't do so well during the 80s. Yeah,
it's interesting because it wasn't well liked really by the critics. All hated it, and I don't think it didn't even do well with the audiences. And now it's considered classic horror movie.
Yeah, that's the scary thing as a filmmaker. And you're like, wow, I made like one of the greatest horror movies ever, and
right.
I was having a hard time getting a job after that because the movie didn't, The Thing did not do well. I think Carpenter said that. It's like it kind of ruined or screwed up his career because they wouldn't like let him make another. And he made this masterpiece at the same time. And it's like, oh my God, what?
And I always feel like I'm a salesman for this board game, but it really captures the paranoia because you play the characters, and one or more or nobody is also the Thing. And so if you are the Thing, you try to sabotage everybody and everyone else. You're very paranoid if someone's the Thing. And when we played it, we voted on to burn one of the characters to death with a flamethrower. And so we killed her. And then it turned out she wasn't the Thing. And I really felt weird about that. I was like, wow, we killed this innocent woman in the game.
Yeah. It shows you whenever you're, whatever the message of the movie is, that sometimes we make people into things when they're not things. That's one of the great the great themes of horror is we kind of project things into things when when we are really the ones probably who are acting like the Thing. Right. They're not the Thing, we're the Thing. Yeah.
My co-host couldn't be here, Trista, but she usually asks, she likes to know what scares horror creators, and it's very fitting for Face Your Fears. So do you have any phobias or fears yourself?
So just general phobias. Well, I don't like enclosed spaces. I had to go for an MRI like a couple months ago. I had never gotten an MRI. I didn't know what an MRI was really. I thought it was just like some type of X-ray. And they kind of asked me if I had claustrophobia. I was like, oh, like, no, I'm fine. But I kind of do, but I didn't know they're going to stick me in this coffin, this slide me into this coffin. And then I started getting scared. I'm like, oh, hey, how long am I going to be in this thing for? And they're like, oh, it's just like 15, 20 minutes. And I'm like, what? I wish somebody
like 10 seconds. But
yeah. I can handle like 20, 30 seconds, 15, and then they get the noises. So I would say in enclosed spaces, like movies like maybe the Descent or any kind of movie where someone gets stuck in like rocks or I saw this movie As Above, So Below, and like there was a part where one of the characters, they're underneath these like Paris caves and tunnels, and one of the characters gets stuck, and I was just like, oh, Oh, I hate that. I hate
Yeah.
that feeling.
I'm 100% with you. The Descent, I think, is super scary before the monsters even appear. It's like I don't understand anyone who would want to do that. Go on.
Yeah, yeah, that makes no sense to me. Yeah, they get stuck in there, and some people get stuck in things and then they don't get out, and
Yeah.
that's like, I mean, that's like being buried alive. It's like Edgar Allan Poe's worst fear come alive, getting just get stuck in there, and then then that's it.
Yeah. So who actually made did you yourself make the box, the game?
No, it was made by a company called Talman Props. They're local to Los Angeles. So I worked with a designer and we came up with the plans, and then Talman kind of put it together. They built it. They did all the sort of animatronics in the thing where there's a crank and it kind of cranks on its own and it lights up and the fingers of it move. So they did all that stuff. It really did a great job with it.
Yeah. So, like, how hands-on are you for something like that? Do you explain exactly how you want it to look, or do you give them a general idea and they run with it?
Yeah, I'm not good at building stuff myself, but we had pretty specific design. I mean, basically, this is exactly how it looked in the design. Everything to a T. They kind of just do it like it's designed. So yeah, they even down to like the fonts that you use for the lettering and everything, and how But then they're like, all right, well, how faded do you want it? How old do you want it to look? Do you want it to look, do you want the metal to look rusty, or do you want it to look really sleek and alien-like? And you can really go hog with like every little detail in it. So yeah, I mean, they asked, every little thing is kind of like accounted for when you're making it.
And how about the effects in the movie? Was the same people, or is that someone else?
Yeah, so for the effects, like the creature effects and stuff. So that was Nick Reisinger who did the creature makeup effects, and then I think I worked with the same designer of the box to kind of come up with a creature that was kind of weird looking, and of course it kind of resembles Fear of the Dark, so it's kind of black and like it hides in the darkness where you can't see if it's there or not. Which when I think of Fear of the Dark, I'm always thinking, as a kid and being in bed and looking in my dark closet, and I could see something in the closet, or you don't see it, or it's like your mind plays tricks on you.
So you said it played festivals before COVID. So had you been during COVID? Did you work on anything, or did you just kind of take time off?
No, during COVID, I wrote a feature. I don't. It's not Face Your Fears per se, but basically I had to invent a whole new game to get it to work with the story I wanted to tell. So it's a whole new thing. The new game is called Play Dead. And this story is about a grieving single mother who's a recovered heroin addict. And she discovers a supernatural game that will allow her to communicate with her dead son and possibly temporarily reunite with the son. But playing the game opens a portal to this terrifying demon. And the only way that she can block out the demon is to use opiates. So she's a recovered addict and she plays this game, and then she starts having these horrible nightmares and she's seeing these demons. And the only way to block it out is to start taking drugs again. But the only way to keep playing the game and hopefully communicating with her son who died tragically before the movie starts is to keep playing this game. So it's like she feels this push-pull with that. So that was most of the pandemic. I wrote that feature.
So was always your plan, like when you're making the shorts, to someday work up and do a feature film?
Yeah, with the shorts, I make shorts just to make shorts. My my brain usually, it's not like I come up with a short and then I just turn it into a feature. I mean, I love this game and I wish I could come up with a feature version of it, but if I did, it would just be kind of mediocre.
A longer version of the, yeah. I like the idea. That's why I do like the shorts have become a bigger thing. And even just movies in general, they don't have to be 90 minutes. You know, you see lots of those like 40 minutes or something, because I think something should just be as long as it should be to tell a story.
Yeah. If a story works told over 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it's not necessarily going to work over 90 minutes. Like I mean, if you have a beginning, middle, and end, and like a real character, I think it works probably certain shorts when there's not really much there to the story, like say a short like Lights Out. I think that was more successful as a feature because there wasn't really much of a story. It was just kind of a creature in the dark and stuff. But some of these shorts, I mean, if you're trying to tell a story with a real character who has hopes and fears, and you know, there's something going after him or her, and you know, it's going to work over a long period or it's going to work over a short period. It's hard to just take that same thing and then turn it into something bigger. Otherwise, it would have been that while you were writing it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen movies where you're watching it and like it's a good idea and everything, or even there's good scenes, but it's clearly been padded just to be 90 minutes, just because that's, you know, like a magical number. A feature should be that.
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to avoid that situation, and I think I did with this feature. It's its own thing, and you know, but it is another board game horror movies. So if you like board game,
I do. It's right up my alley. Yeah.
I'm doing this like horror Jumanji thing now. I don't know, but I feel like there should be, you know, there's Ouija, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's fertile ground there for, hopefully I can get this thing made. I mean, we'll see. I would love it to get made and come out because I think people would dig it.
Yeah. Have you ever used a Ouija board?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes. When I was younger, we used to use Ouija boards all the time. Yeah, I used to use them all the time. Yeah, they creep me out. My wife got one for me a couple of years ago, and I was really excited. And then she got rid of it a couple of days later when she talked to her mom, and she's like, "Don't bring those horror. There's enough, you know, horrible spirits he's bringing in with the horror stuff, and then you're going to bring the Ouija." So I didn't get a chance to play it again. But I was a big fan of it when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, I used one for the first time. I don't know. I guess it's been about 8 years ago now. But I went in not thinking anything of it. Just thought it would be something silly to do. But we actually got a lot of response to it. And they were all very like mundane answers, which made me think there was something more to it. Because I would think if you're making something up, even unintentionally, it would be something really grandiose or scary or something. It was just like he said, he was a teacher or something. It was like real boring, but the idea, but that made it interesting to me.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, maybe he's just bored in the afterlife. He just whatever.
Yeah. Then we used it a second time in Salem on Halloween at midnight, and got no answers at all. It did nothing.
Oh,
but I think that was it was just too cliche.
Yeah, maybe. I grew up right next to Salem, and we used to go. My cousin lived in the Salem woods, and we used to go like camping out there, and we'd use Ouija boards and we tell ghost stories. And I when I was a kid, I thought I saw that was the only time I thought I saw like a ghost was during that camping trip, because they would tell, there was a story of this woman. She was like a real woman who was like, she was picked up by a black Cadillac or something, and her body was dismembered or something and buried like out in these woods. And I swear I saw like a floating torso. I mean, I'm sure it was in my head, but as a kid, you think you're seeing stuff.
Yeah, I can remember that story. I'm in Massachusetts too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
we're
I'm on the Cape.
Okay, all right. I forget if it was it like Madeline McCann or something. I don't know.
It was, everyone was talking about at the time.
So you heard that story? It was
yeah. Yeah, I'm a little. I don't know if you know where Sandwich is, but Sandwich on.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is a weird aside, but I did a whole project on Sandwich for my oceanography class in sixth grade.
Really?
My teacher, Mr. Ferris, was from Sandwich, and he was so proud of Sandwich. He would talk about Sandwich all the time. So to get an easy A, I made this like clay thing of like the town of Sandwich with this like light in the middle, and he gave me an A. It wasn't even that good of a thing, but he was just so happy it was Sandwich. So
yeah. I don't know what he's happy about. It's not the most exciting place. We have the oldest working grist mill, and then and a glass museum. That's I think that's the big parts of it. Yeah. But that's good. I'm glad that he's proud of it.
Sure, I'm sure locals though are like they're pretty. A lot of locals, I'm sure, are pretty proud of their little town. I have to.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got it. I'm glad it worked out well for you. But, I don't know what to say to that, but it's very interesting. So, well, what made you decide like you want to pursue making films?
I started, I always, well, not always, kind of around 18, 19, I kind of got the inclination I wanted to be an actor. So I started taking acting classes, and I studied some theater in college. And then I moved out to Los Angeles to become an actor from Massachusetts. And I kind of fell on my face. It was really hard. And, I was mostly just like waiting tables all day. So I took a little break and I worked a little bit. And then I started to get back into acting again because I was like, you know what, I really miss doing this. And then people were saying, oh, well, you got to, make your own content and blah, blah, blah. So at my acting school, we did a 48-hour film fest where they, they give you like a few words and a prop, and they're like, you're going to make a movie. So we formed a group, and no one had a camera except my wife, she's my girlfriend at the time. She had a DSLR. I was like, well, she has a camera. And they're like, all right, good. You're the director then. And I was like, but I mean, I don't know how to work the camera. I don't know how to use it. And they're like, well, we don't know how to use it either. So somebody's got to do it. So that was a thing it took was to just do it. And then I was awake for 48 hours straight. We shot it and I edited it and all that. I had no idea what I was doing, but we did it and we made a short. And I think it was like not, it was not bad for not knowing what the hell you're doing. Like it had something to it. And I thought, oh, all right, well, maybe I can do this. I just got to like stop making excuses and just do it. Of course, it's a far more complicated craft than I understood then. When you're starting, you don't know how deep the rabbit hole goes. But I just learned it as I went, and so I kind of got into it a lot later than other people who've been making movies longer. I kind of fell into it, but I realized that I really, really enjoyed it, and horror was just something that I kept. I don't know. Maybe I just have a twisted mind, but my mind would always go to weird places, and I was doing like comedy, but there would always be really weird, twisted, horrific characters, and people are like, you should just do horror that might have a hint of comedy rather than the other way around. And then after that, I didn't look back. I feel like I really found my genre.
So I know it seems very simplistic what you just said about just do it, but that's come up several times, me especially interviewing independent filmmakers, is because a lot of people think about like, I can make this, or I have an idea, but I don't know anybody, or I've never done anything. But if you actually do it, if it turns out bad or whatever, at least you've made it, and could lead to other things.
Yeah, that was the big difference. I mean, if I just assumed I was like, I can't do this. And it never even really occurred to me. I always loved movies. I loved going to the movies, but I was like, I don't know how to work the camera. It was always, but in this situation, I was forced to do it. And that was the thing. And I kind of kicked myself afterwards. I'm like, I wish I did it when I was younger. I always loved movies. I thought of that would be a cool thing. And I say to anyone, if you're even considering it, just go do it. And see if you like it. I mean, you could just grab your phone and shoot some stuff and edit it even on your phone. And if you don't like it, you don't have to do it again. But for me, I found I really liked it, and I felt like I had a knack for it. So I'm glad I was forced into it, and because I didn't stop since that time. I'd made probably at least 30 short films. A lot of them probably not very good.
I not to see you here, but honestly, I've enjoyed the ones I watched. I watched Face Your Fears for the interview, but then I started watching the other ones because I saw you have them on Vimeo, and I really liked the first one I watched, so I started watching them, and yeah, I think they're really well made. And
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I kind of did a whole bunch before that, and then once I started getting into horror, I felt like I started hitting my stride a little bit. So yeah, the more you do it, the better you get at it. It's like any other craft.
Is it the same? Is it the same feeling that you had from acting, or is it a different creative outlet to actually direct and write something?
Yeah, it's very different. I mean, it's all ultimately storytelling, but it's different. Acting, there's this more sense of immediate like catharsis when you're acting and you're in a scene and you had a great scene with your partner or whatever, and the director high fives you and you feel great, and you go back and sit down. That with directing, it's like when you're shooting, it's just there's no moment to really chill out, and it's everything is constantly going, but you feel this like adrenaline of like you're kind of in control of the thing. You're the captain of this pirate ship, and you're sailing out into battle or whatever, and there is a rush. I do get a rush from that, and when you have control over the vision, I mean, it's a collaborative process, and everyone brings their talents. It's not just you doing it, but you're ultimately the tastemaker. There is, I think, a level of satisfaction you can get that you don't always get in acting, because you don't have as much control over what it is and how they're going to edit it and shoot it and all that. I mean, you just hope it's going to be good. But when you kind of have the control, you have your taste is kind of driving it, and then people watch it and they like it, I think that's probably more fulfilling than if I just acted in it, and they like my performance or something.
How about Aaliyah, who plays the main character in your new movie, Face Your Fears? Did you know her beforehand? How did she get involved?
She was she goes or went to my acting school called Stuart Rogers Studio, which is a great school for actors. I didn't know her. I asked a friend of mine for some recommendations for certain actors, and he sent me a few. And then we have mutual friends, and so I just she had a great look for the part, and then I got to know her, and I wanted to make sure that she's kind of serious about the craft, because I'm very serious about the craft. And when I show up, like, I want the person to show up prepared and like they're here to work and give it their all, because I'm taking this serious, and I don't want people who are half-assing it. Fortunately, at this school, people really take the craft seriously. So I got to know her. And she's since become a friend. I mean, she's such a great actress. She's just so dedicated. Even though it's basically just her in the movie, and there's not a lot of dialogue, or she's not in dialogue with other people. It's a challenge. It was a challenge for her. She had to really carry the movie herself, and she did a great job. And she took it, even though it was horror, she saw the merit in the script, and she took it very seriously. And I think her performance really reflects that.
Do you think that background in acting has helped you as a director?
I think so. Yeah. I've always just been able to talk to actors. And I kind of took it or I could kind of like watch a scene and be like, all right, like, it's not quite working. Let's try this. Let's try that. And that's just probably because of taking acting classes and studying as an actor. Because I've seen with other movies that people who directors say they come from a technical standpoint of cinematography, or they're visual effects artists or colorists. Sometimes that's a that's a struggle, is like getting the performance, like getting them, like knowing how to talk to them to really engage their imagination to get the performance. And I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it comes a little more natural because I have that background, and as a writer too. I mean, you know, I know what exposition feels like when it's like somebody has to like read these lines with conviction and like motivation, and I try not to just throw in BS lines that aren't motivated. I really stickler for that. I'm sure I fail at certain points, but for unnatural moments, unnatural dialogue, I really look out for stuff like that.
Do you still do acting?
No, I do not. Maybe I'll get into it again. I'm kind of got my hands full with the writing and directing. It's so much work just to do those two things, and then to add in acting, I'd be a little bit overwhelmed. But I wouldn't rule it out in the future. You know, we'll see what happens. I do enjoy it. I wouldn't mind doing some acting here and there.
Yeah. So you said, you know, you were a little older than normal for people who leave their home and go to LA to pursue this. What did your family think of that, and your friends? Were they supportive, or they're like, I don't know if this is a good idea, or what?
All right. So as a fellow Massachusetts, in a mass hole, if you will.
Right.
We can call each other.
Exactly. I was just, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
It's not really, I mean, especially where I came from, it's not really a thing to get up and move cross country to pursue a career in the arts. It's just not. So I think a lot, you know, my family, I think a lot of them, oh yeah, that sounds good, but he's not actually going to do it. Or they were like, well, if he's going to do it, he's not going to, come back in 6 months to a year or whatever. So I think I think everyone was very supportive of it. But I think there was a little bit of, well, come on, you're going to go all the way out there. You don't know anyone. You don't know, for a career in the arts, you're crazy. And I was like, I am crazy. I feel like I'm crazy if I don't go, because, all right, I mean, I see what my life could be here, and whatever, like that's fine. But I can't just give into that without this. You feel like this urge to do this thing. And I was like, I feel crazy if I don't like go with this urge, because whatever, you got one life, you might as well give it a shot at least. So they I think once I was out there for a few years, they were like, all right, I think he's staying out there. I think he's serious about it.
Yeah. So when you did go out there, you said it was hard, it was hard, obviously, but did you find like there's a horror community out there?
Yeah, I didn't find it until later, with like festivals and doing short horror, and I got to know some of the people who are doing horror also out here, like doing their own short horror films, and some of them have since become friends, and we talk about projects and stuff. So there is a good horror community, and I hope to see some of them at Shriekfest, and maybe meet some new people who are local. But there's definitely, there's a good amount of people doing horror stuff out here in LA, which is cool.
Did you ever go to the trivia at Burbank? The horror trivia night?
Dead right.
I'm not sure what it's called. I was there when I was in LA a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic.
Oh yeah, it was always been on the back of my mind, and I signed up for the mailing list. And then I was gonna go, but then the COVID thing, they canceled.
Yeah, now it was virtual for a while. I don't know if they even still do it, but
yeah, maybe it's virtual. So I've never done it, but I've heard great things. How was your experience doing it?
Well, it's fun, but I went in thinking like I know a lot about horror movies, but these people this is another level of my friend Michael, who lives out there, when I went and played on his team, and he was like, all of us are in the regular population we'd be in the top, 2% or whatever of horror knowledge. But in this room, we're like the bottom, 90%.
Yeah.
They were just, I was happy when I knew a question, but they just knew everything. If they knew stuff, it was like, what's the kill count of RoboCop 2, and it's like 118. Or I'm like, who wouldn't know this? I don't understand. But yeah.
I don't think I would do, like, I think I know more about horror than most people, but
Right.
amongst people who are really obsessed, I don't think I would do very well. I love horror, but I watch a lot of movies of all kinds of genres because I think
I do too. Yeah.
It can inform your horror work. If you're just watching horror, you're kind of going to make stuff that might be replicating something you've already seen. And the horror people I really like say someone like Robert Eggers or Ari Aster, stuff like that. They're watching weird art movies and old movies, and they're bringing all that stuff into their work as well. But yeah, I wouldn't call myself a heavy hitter with the hardcore horror trivia by any means.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Don't get me wrong, but it was, I did not do well. But yeah, the fans of the show might be upset if I say this, but yeah, I see all kinds of movies too. I just went to see it In the Eyes of Tammy Faye, the Tammy Faye Baker show movie. So
yeah, how was that?
Horror, but it was very good actually.
And it looked like kind of scary.
Great cast. Yeah, it is very real life horror.
Yeah,
Very Falwell, and
that stuff scares me.
Yeah. But yeah, so the new Clint Eastwood movie.
Oh yeah, how was that?
Unfortunately, not good. I'm a Clint Eastwood fan, but this was not good. Yeah, I even feel bad even saying anything. I normally really like his movies, but this was just kind of sad to watch. Yeah, and not intentionally so. It's just
yeah. All right, I might just watch that streaming or something.
Yeah, maybe. And Cop Shop.
Oh, so you're seeing you see everything, huh?
Yeah, I'm not. They don't pay me, but I get the AMC Stub Club thing, and so you can see 3 movies a week. So I just go, and it's kind of fun though because some of those movies I might not have watched otherwise, and sometimes it works out. Sometimes I might just leave during the movie. But
yeah. Oh yeah, I got to sign up. They actually just turned my local theater.
Yeah, it's out just a couple weeks ago. It started, maybe last month.
So yeah, maybe I was thinking I should. Yeah, it's like $15 a month, and
it's $20 like I think, and three a week, and you can even use it all in one day. So a lot of times I go up to Boston and just watch 3 movies in a day, and it's fun.
Yeah, are the theaters? My hometown theater of Revere closed. Last time I was there, which kind of depressed me, but how are the theaters?
Well, when I first started going back to the AMC, I go to the AMC in Lowell's, right on in Boston, and it was like pretty dead, but it's actually been pretty busy last few weeks. But what's really cool is the 2 theaters I really like are Coolidge on Coolidge Corner in Brookline, and the Brattle Theater in Cambridge, because they show a lot of old movies and a lot of art house movies. And I didn't know if either one was going to reopen because they were staying alive with donations, but both of them just reopened in the last couple months. So I was happy to see that. And
I think the Salem, the little Salem,
it's open too. I've
all reopened. Which I was kind of whatever, there's worst things in the world, but my movie played at the Salem Horror Festival.
Oh yeah.
I'm so excited because I get a chance to invite all my friends, and we all go to the little Salem theater in the mall that I always went to as a kid, but it got shut down. But I'm happy.
Yeah,
they reopened that because that theater when I was younger.
I don't like to make about me or anything, but a similar boat. I made a first short film, and it did a lot of festivals, which I was very excited about, and got to see a lot of places. But it was going to play Boston Underground Film Festival last year, which is the film festival I go to every year. And it's where I met people I started making movies with. And literally, like, it was that week, they waited till last minute and they shut it down. And so it ended up doing virtual like months later, which is cool, but it wasn't the same as being there and watching it with everybody.
Yeah. That's a bummer. Yeah.
But of course, I want everyone to be safe.
Right.
I don't want anyone to think like, I think that's, more important or something, but it still is, disappointing.
If you can, go to the theater and the theaters are real, as long as stay safe, hopefully get vaccinated, all that stuff. And check out, watch movies if you can do it. It's because for me, there's just nothing like the theatrical
I agree.
experience. It's just, I this idea of like, watching everything from home streaming. It's like, I don't like, I love going to the theater. It's an experience. Like if you watch something in a theater, like you're there, you're in the environment, like you remember the actual experience of watching it, because it's just like
you can't escape. If you're watching home, even if you don't want to pick up your phone, you're probably going to, and you got the lights on. But if you're in the theater, it's all black and it's huge, and the sound, you can feel it, and you can't really escape from it. It's right there, and it's a totally different experience. I get sad. I honestly get like depressed or mad when I see people saying, "Oh, like I don't care if the theaters die because everything's on streaming now," and it's like it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure maybe there are a lot of people just they don't get that. Maybe they don't get that same experience that we get from the theater. But I feel like there's enough. And I'll tell you something, in Los Angeles, it's crazy. So there's a bunch of like repertory theaters that reopen, like Quentin Tarantino's New Beverly Cinema. There's a theater close to me, at Los Feliz Theater, that the American Cinematheque programs 3 movies a day there. So like, classic movies, foreign movies, and every single screening is full of these movies. And a lot of them are like old movies. They're movies from other countries. And it could be the middle of the day, and the theaters are full, like they're packed full of people. So that there are some people who do want to go to the theater, who do appreciate that. And I might actually go tonight. There's a Wong Kar-wai thing they're doing. They're playing Chungking Express. I might go there tonight. And then there's a Kiyoshi Kurosawa. I don't know if you're in the Kiyoshi Kurosawa.
My brother actually he's always trying to get me into this, but if he sometimes is on the show, but he's always mad at me for not watching all these movies.
Yeah, check out the movie Pulse by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. That's a really interesting horror movie. I actually they played that a week ago. I've seen it a few times, but it's a cool little horror movie. It's J horror. Yeah. But it's got a lot of interesting themes going on in that film.
And when I was out there, we went to see at the New Beverly Die Hard on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
and then people always, debate, and then I realized, this is totally a Christmas movie. It's Christmas music, the whole movie, and it's Christmas. Yeah. I don't know why it's even a debate.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. I mean, just because, there is a guy dressed as Santa. You can't say that, right? Isn't there? Do they dress?
Yeah. And if you listen, the whole score is all Christmas music. It's just, it might be a little hidden, but all of the Christmas music.
Yeah. So
we've put that debate to rest here on the show. It's a Christmas movie.
I got a machine gun. Ho ho ho.
It's official. So you're working on the feature. Where can people go to watch some of your shorts?
Yeah, so you can, if you just Google or not, go on YouTube, Neal Stevens Films. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I generally release them there. I don't, I usually don't put them on like Alter or any of these other things. I just put it on my own channel. So you can, go to YouTube, Neal Stevens Films, Neal Stevens Horror. There's my Instagram, which is Neal P. Stevens, where I post updates of stuff as well. But those are probably the 2 ones for now.
Very cool. So hope people get to Shriekfest, check out Face Your Fears, and also if you're not in the area, go and watch some of your stuff on your YouTube. Or if you can do both, or it's not either or.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Are you going to be there?
I am not, unfortunately. Trista may be there. She's in LA.
Okay. All right. Well, if I see her, I'll introduce myself. But if you're ever out here or whatever, drop me a line.
I will. Yeah. The plan was to do some more stuff out there, but
a lot of plans went up in smoke last year and a half.
Right.
But hey, that's life, right?
Yeah. All right. Very good. Thanks for doing this. It's been fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Neal. It was really nice chatting with you.